All right, YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So let's get straight into this video. I want to talk about how to have truly internal confidence, to have confidence that comes from within, right? So a lot of people throughout, the world that you see, a lot of people base their confidence on things that they have, external things, right? So they base it off how much money they have or whatever relationship they're in or whatever it is. They always base their confidence on stuff that's outside of them, right? But the thing is, people who do this, as soon as they lose these external things or these material things, right, they break, they go down, they lose their confidence, they have low self-esteem after. They, they get depressed, they get all types of things happening to them, right? So this is what happens when you don't have true internal confidence. And what I mean by internal confidence is despite what your life looks like, you still have confidence, right? You still walk like you know where you're going. You still walk with purpose. You still have optimism about you. You still have faith about you, right? You still see things for what they actually are. You don't base whatever's happening in your life and then taking it personally or like viewing yourself inferior to other people or whatever it is, or superior to other people if you have whatever it is, right? Because that's not internal confidence. And there's some Bible verses as well too, because this is something that God wants you to have too, because God is your creator, right? God made you. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. So that's something that you have to really let sink in. Because if you're fearfully and wonderfully made by God, that means however you're made perfect in His eyes, right? And perfect doesn't mean you don't have insecurities, you don't have little things you need to work on, whatever it is, right? Because that's not what it means. But perfect means you being who you're supposed to be, you being your actual authentic self, right? And being authentic is something that most people cannot do. Most people cannot walk around and own up to their insecurities, own up to who they are, their flaws, their weaknesses, their strengths, and everything. Most people can't do that, right? And a lot of the problem stems from people care what other people think, and that's what also kills your confidence. Because if you care what people think, you're living for other people, and you're putting them on a pedestal, right? Which becomes idolatry. Because if you care what people think, that means their opinion is important. So you're placing their opinion higher than God's opinion about you, right? So there's actually a Bible verse exactly about that. If you go to Hebrews 13:6, he says, "So we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?" So if you've had situations to where people like to say something about you, try to put you down about something, or like they call you a certain name, or blah blah blah, all this stuff, s talking, right? So the truth is, whenever people talk about you, say stuff about you, it truly doesn't matter. It's not something that you should care about because they're not you. They don't know anything about your life. They don't know who you actually are. They don't live they don't live your life, right? They don't know you like that. So opinions that other people have about you do not matter. Like, they literally do not matter. And this stems from having internal confidence, because if you don't have this type of confidence, you're going to care what they say, right? What they say is going to hurt you, or if they say something good about you, you're going to feel better. If they say something bad about you, you're going to go down, right? So having truly internal confidence means whether they say something good about you or something bad about you, it doesn't change your attitude, right? You're still acting the same because you do not care, right? If they say something nice about you, you'll be happy they said it, but you know who you are, right? If they say something bad about you, you're gonna hear it, but you're gonna be like, ah, they don't even know who I am, right? Because no one truly knows who other people are. Only God knows who you actually are and yourself. And this is why you need to really know yourself as well. You need to know what your actual desires are, right? Because God says He'll give us the desires of our heart, and a lot of times we don't really know the desires of our heart because they're kind of like a feeling. It's a feeling that you have. You might know a little bit, But there's a lot of noise in the world too. A lot of things you're supposed to do, supposed to have a way to act, blah blah blah, like all this stuff, right? This is what gets a lot of people to lack this confidence because they don't live they don't live their life according to who they are, right? They let opinions get to them. They let pressures get to them. They let all these things get to them. And the life God wants you to have is a life that's according to His will, but His will is placed inside of you as well. That's why He gives you the desires of His heart, because that's part of His will. He gave you these desires. So if you know you're someone that's called, right, you have a calling, you might feel called to start, speaking in front of a camera, or you might be called to start doing a certain thing. Whatever the calling that God has for you, right? Your insecurities are gonna pop up. So you're gonna, if you're called to speak in front of a camera or something like that, for example, you might feel called to do it, like you want to do it, but then you're like, oh, I don't want to do it because I don't like how I speak, or I don't think I know what I'm saying, or have an insecurity about something. But despite whatever insecurities that you have, you're supposed to do it anyway, right? Because God says, my grace is sufficient in weakness. So whatever weakness you have, that's another thing to boast about, right? Because that's when God is the strongest. Because God carries you through these things. And you need to know this, truly know this. So many people are scared to show their weaknesses or show who they actually are because they get scared to get judged. They get scared to get looked at as weak. They get scared to look at as all these things, right? But not one person is perfect, right? And no one is righteous besides God as well. So any opinion or judgment anyone has about you, they're going to get judged as well on it. Because they're not perfect either. So they can't judge, otherwise they're going to get judged. So if you're watching this video and you feel called to watch this video and it resonates for you, and you might be someone who is confident or pretty confident, or you might not be. You might have a lot of insecurities. You might let like people's opinions get you down and stuff like that. I've done the same thing as well. But these things truly do not matter. The only thing that matters in your life is God's will for your life, right? God's opinion for you. What God wants for you, the desires of your heart, right? Because if you sway away from these things, this is when you start to lose yourself. You start to live for other people, caring about their opinions, caring about how they think you, caring about the things that you have, caring about just the things of this world, right? Having truly internal confidence, you don't take the things of the world so seriously. They don't become part of your self-confidence, right? So whether you're broke or whether you're wealthy, it doesn't sway your self-confidence. You're still the same. You still feel good about yourself. You still walk around with your head up, right? You still genuinely feel good about yourself because it doesn't matter to you. You don't care. This is how God wants you to live, right? You need to live kind of detached from these things. Like the material things are good, that could help you. But when you don't have them, you're not supposed to walk with your head down and not be confident and not feel good enough to speak to other people or not feel good enough for these things. That's not how you're supposed to act, right? You're supposed to have a natural confidence about you. That's why I've also had the term Godfidence, right? It's a type of confidence that despite whatever's going on through your life, despite whether you're in good health or bad health, good shape or bad shape, broke or rich, healthy or unhealthy, whatever it is, it doesn't sway your confidence, right? You're still the same. You still act the same regardless. You don't change. And that's the thing. God pretty much keeps you solid, right? Because He's with you. He's always with you, right? And you need to know this as well too, because having this faith, because this is true, having this faith is what keeps you confident as well, because you know, despite wherever you are, you know that God is with you. You know that God is helping you in your weakness. You know that God is constantly upholding you, right? This is why I also spoke about a lot on my channel to where like you could bend down because a lot of trials, tribulations, and suffering, but you don't break, right? You still have the light about you. You still have the confidence about you. You still do not look like whatever you've been through and everything. You stay strong, right? So having true internal confidence is, despite having fear, despite having these insecurities, whatever it is that you have, you're not letting them stop you, right? Because God says to be strong and be courageous. So being strong and being courageous doesn't mean not having feelings, right? It doesn't mean not having fear. It doesn't mean not having insecurities. It doesn't mean not having weaknesses, right? But it means despite whatever it is, these things that you have, you're still following that will. You're still living, right? You're not letting these things stop you. You're still doing the things that you want to do. You're still going after the things that you know you need to go after, right? You're not letting these things sway and stop you. Because once you let these things stop you, that's when your confidence drops. Because you take these things seriously. You take whatever you've heard from other people seriously. You take whatever weakness about you seriously, right? You take these things as if like it's the end of the world. And that's what drops people's confidence. Because when you look at the whole world, a lot of people are putting on a front, right? People like to appear perfect. People like to appear stronger than they are. People like to appear smarter than they are. People like to appear better than they really are. People like to appear more put together than they are, right? You see it everywhere. Because this is just what people do. It's hard to be truly an authentic type of person. But authentic is something that is God's will for you. God wants you to be authentic, because if you're authentic, you're living your life how He wants you to live your life, right? Because it doesn't make everyone the same and acting the same way and doing the same thing and thinking the same things, right? So having this true internal confidence about you, you're not going to put anything on a pedestal, anything or anybody on a pedestal, because nothing's worth putting on a pedestal besides God, right? Otherwise, it becomes idolatry. And idolatry being a sin, because you idolize things like this, you idolize other people, other people's opinions. They're gonna hurt you, right? They're gonna hurt your self confidence. They're gonna hurt your. They're gonna sway you off your path, right? This is why idolatry is a sin as well, because you start to idolize other things. You start to idolize money. When you don't have enough money, you're gonna feel terrible about yourself. When you do have enough money, you're gonna feel good about yourself. You idolize a certain person, like people that idolize, celebrities or whatever it is, or leaders, whatever it is. People that truly idolize these people, as soon as, because them being a human as well, because if you idolize a human, you're idolizing something that's, first of all, going to perish, right? There's going to be an end to the person. But nobody is perfect, so you idolize a human, and all of a sudden you find out that that human acts a certain way, or actually ends up being disrespectful or something, or ends up being someone you didn't know would actually be, because you put them so high on a pedestal. It doesn't work, right? Because they're not God. So you start to see like more of who they actually are, and you're like, wait, why am I idolizing this person, right? Anything that you idolize affects your self-confidence, whether you believe it or not, because you put something on a pedestal, it doesn't own up to that pedestal, and then you get down about it. You're like, oh, wait, then you get swayed off. You put materials on a pedestal, you might get the certain materials, and then you're like, oh wait, this isn't really fulfilling. Or if you don't have that material, whether it's money, cars, housing, or whatever, when you don't have it, you walk around with no self-confidence, right? And that's not how you're supposed to live your life. You're supposed to be confident regardless of whatever thing is going on in your life, whatever good thing is happening, whatever bad thing is happening, you still have your confidence. And what I mean by you still have your confidence is that despite whatever is happening in your life, you're not attached to these things. You see that they're happening, but you're not attached, right? So you're separate from the external world. That's how you're supposed to live, because the external world, it has its things, it has its stuff. Everything is fleeing, right? So you'll have something, then you won't have something. You get one thing, then you lose one thing, right? So all these things they don't last forever, right? Because God's the only one that lasts forever. So people that constantly chase things like materials constantly chase whatever it is, it's going to be a never-ending chase, right? You're never going to be actually happy because you're basing you're you're walking around like you need something, right? So you're attached to these things. So if you don't have it, you're not going to feel good. If you have it, you're going to feel good, right? Because then that's how you become a slave, because you're acting a certain way based on what you have, right? Based on the things that you have. So you're too connected to these things. So you become a slave to these things because you idolize these things. And that's false confidence, right? Because that's only confidence based on the things that you have. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you don't get more confidence based on your achievements, right? Because everyone gets more confidence based off what they achieve. But you have to stay detached from these things, right? Because regardless if you achieve them or not, you're still the same person. You still have confidence about yourself. You're not walking around with your head down if you don't have it. You're not walking around depressed if you have them, right? If you don't have them, I mean. But yeah, so this is how you truly have true internal confidence. Because confidence only comes from within. It's not something that varies based off what your life looks like, where you're at in your life. Because that's not the way to live your life. You gotta stay confident. You gotta stay confident regardless about what's happening. Whether your life is, whether you're in a season of hell, right, where you're going through a lot of things, you still have your confidence. Or whether you're in a season of success and everything, you still have that same confidence. You don't start to feel better than other people. You don't start to feel better about yourself or anything, right? Because it doesn't waver. Internal confidence doesn't waver, right? But you can only get that internal confidence when you truly know who you are, right? And you truly know who God views you to be. So when you truly know who you are, you start to put the focus on yourself, and you start to detach from these things. These things don't affect your self-esteem, right? That's true internal confidence. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, and if you're not subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe. All right, God bless you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.